In this video, I'll be showing you 3 ways on how to clean the inside of the glass in your oven door. Now, the test subject that I'm going to be using, I think the glass on it is actually pretty clean compared to the caked, greasy monsters that I see. This is pristine, but my wife does not agree with me, and everybody knows that a happy wife is a happy life. So we're going to get this cleaned. The first method is the easiest, but it's also the least effective. It's the easiest because you don't have to take anything apart, and it's the least effective because if your oven glass is greased up, this method is barely going to put a dent in it. And I'll show you why. So all you will need to do this is some kind of a ruler, a yardstick, or just a stick. This is a bad choice. It's way too flexible, but I couldn't find anything else quickly. So I'll show you this as an example. But if you're going to do this, I would recommend getting something more stiff, not flexible. Then grab a towel, wrap it around your yardstick or ruler or whatever, and then you can either tape it or put a piece of rubber band on it to hold it in place. I'll put another rubber band on this side. By the way, this is my least favorite method. I truly believe that it doesn't do much. But it is a method, and some people use it, and they like it, so I'll show it to you. It's worth a try. I mean, you don't have to take anything apart, so why not, right? So you got your little wand ready, and then you open your bottom drawer. Oh, here's our vacuum. My son was giving it heck. He was abusing it in all sorts of ways, so we hid it here. You can take the drawer out completely, or you can just leave it like this, but there's basically slots on the bottom of most oven doors. One more thing I want to point out. Just because I'm showing it to you on my oven doesn't mean that your oven will be exactly the same. So just look all around the door. Every single oven is different. Most of them are pretty similar, but there's a ton of brands, lots of varieties. So just because you're seeing it here, that doesn't mean yours will be exactly the same. Just a disclaimer. So on this oven, this is a Frigidaire. The slots are on the bottom. They're a little hard to see, but you should be able to stick a yardstick in there and get in the inside of your door. And later on in the video, I'll be taking this door off and we can see that better. If you have a drawer like mine right here, it's very easy to take out. All you have to do is lift up the front of it and take it out. There's a little tab right here, a stopper. That's what stops it. So you just have to get that over and you can take that whole shelf out and move it out of the way. Now, if your shelf has sliders on it, you take that all the way out and there's going to be little plastic tabs on the sliders. You push one up and on the other side there's going to be another tab. You press that one down and then you should be able to release it and pull it out. If you have those slide bars, you're going to know what I'm talking about. So let's get this out of the way. And now we can stick our little cleaning stick inside of the slots. And I think the towel I picked is way too thick. It's really struggling getting in there. And of course, that's one more thing you have to be worried about. If you get something in there and it gets stuck and you pull it out, you may end up taking apart the door just to get the towel out. This is too thick. So, whatever. For example purposes, I'll just show you what it looks like. You gotta get something thinner, or maybe even put a paper towel on there. Spray some kind of cleaner on it, Windex or whatever, oven cleaner. And if you look inside of my glass here, there is my ruler, right inside. So the idea behind this is you would just kind of scrub everything and try to get it cleaned. And then you put a paper towel on it, a dry one, and you try to wipe it all down. So hopefully there will be no streaks remaining. And there's a slot on this side. This method is effective, I suppose. If your oven glass is not very dirty, that might be just fine. But if you are more caked on, if you have more grease caked on there, this method, it's not gonna do much. And method number 2. I don't recommend this one, but it is possible and people do it. So I'm gonna show you an example of it and just tell you some things that you should look out for if you are gonna do it this way. In method number 2, you will partially take apart the door, but you will not be taking the door off of the oven. Here is what that would look like. Usually, just taking these 2 screws off is enough. On many ovens, these 2 screws are also the ones that are holding the handle, the oven handle. So the best way to do this, if you were to do it this way, is to either put a box or something under here. I would just use my knees and just place the handle and the whole door on my knees like that, on my thighs. And then I'll go ahead and take those screws out. Most of the time they're Phillips, you know, the X. Sometimes it could be a Torque, the star-shaped, or a square. Usually it's Phillips screws though. So we'll take both of them out. There's the first one. And as you can see, it starts to come apart. See that? And my door handle, this side is off as well. Now let's take the other one apart. Okay, so I'm going to keep holding this together. If I let it go, it's going to kind of spring open. I'll remove the handle. And now I'll take the two parts apart. And that's what that would look like. I like to bring them both up together. If you're going to do it this way, like I said, this is not what I usually would do. Usually I would take the door off. That's going to be method number 3. So when you do this, if you look in here, this outer part is connected with these little tabs on the bottom. So when you're doing this, you're essentially bending those little tabs just a little bit, especially if you completely let the door go. I can already start to hear it crunch. Those tabs get bent. So one thing you should do if you're going to do it this way, just continually hold the door while somebody is cleaning it up. It helps to have 2 people doing this while somebody just washes this down and cleans it up. That way, you know, you don't let it go and it's not going to bend these tabs. If they do bend and you're having trouble putting the door back together, then you're only left with completely taking it apart and bending those tabs back. If you're alone and you don't have a second pair of hands, then you can use your third hand, your knee, and just place it right over here and have your cleaning supplies ready. Then grab it and just do your cleaning while you're holding it with a knee. Or you could just prop it up with something, I guess. This gives you pretty nice access, and it's actually not that bad of a method. You can definitely get everything cleaned this way. There's just a little bit more risk involved that potentially could happen. If you're careful, you're probably going to be just fine. The oven also might have sharp edges on the metal. And even if it doesn't have sharp edges, some of this sheet metal is really thin. So if you slide your hand across it, it will cut you. Now, the reason I'm not wearing any gloves is because my hands are cut resistant, but it might not be the same for you. So if you want to avoid cuts, do wear a pair of gloves or just put on a lucky ring. So let's say you got everything cleaned up. You put it all back together, you look inside the glass, and it's still dirty. That's because some ovens actually have 3 layers of glass. You got this one, the outer glass, you got the inner glass, and then there's a tempered glass in between them. So it's actually 3 panes of glass. Doing this method, you actually cannot get to the inside of the center glass. So if you have 3 panes of glass, the only way to clean that one is to actually take the whole door apart. So method 3 is really your only option. So that's method 2. Let's put the door back together and proceed to method number 3. To put the door together, an easy thing to do is to just clamp it with your armpit. Hopefully it's not sweaty. And then, you gotta hold it tight. You line up the door handle. Oh, it's already coming apart. I wasn't joking when I said you have to clamp on tight. There you go. Okay, let's try that again. You put the screw through. There you go, you can see it sticking out. And then what I like to do is get one side started, just by hand. Actually, is this upside down? It is. I almost put it on upside down. How could I? And actually, we're going to be taking this off again for method number 3, but I'll just show you for those of you that need to do method number 2. So I got it started, and then you switch hands, you clamp it with your other pit, and you put the other screw in, and you're good to go. My extension doesn't have a magnet in it. I lost it somewhere. Also, if you're using a drill, make sure you have the setting down low because you're drilling into plastic. If you have it set to 15 or to drill, then you might strip it out and then your handle is not going to stay on there. So make sure you got it set low. Method number 3, and yes, I know you like my ring. Method number 3 will be taking off the door. The best way is to put it on the countertop. Our countertop is full of a bunch of stuff. So I'll just go ahead and put a towel on the floor instead of the countertop, so we don't scratch the door and we don't scratch the floor. It's a win-win situation. And to take the door off, on most ovens, it's fairly easy. If your oven is different than this one, then just go on YouTube and whatever your brand is, this is a Frigidaire. Let's say you have a Maytag. Go on YouTube and type in how to take off oven door on Maytag, or how to take off the door on a Maytag oven. Don't just go into it blind, because another disclaimer, these things, they come out a lot easier than they come back in. I've had times where it took me 20 minutes to get this darn door back in, and it only took me about 2 seconds to take it out. So do pay attention how it's coming out, so hopefully you'll be able to put it in the same exact way. On many ovens, the door hinges are designed this way. So you have this top part that swings down. This is like the locking mechanism that locks it in place. You got to get that out and down. There you go. Sometimes those get stuck in there, so you have to really pry on them to get them out. So you take those out and you put them all the way down, and that unlocks the door hinge. So now you can take it and move it upwards. Let's see if I can show you that. Right there, you see that? So now you can slide it up once you have that lock disengaged. So with this lock in there, of course, that thing can't move up. So we got this side down. I'll move the other lock down as well. There you go. Now we're ready to take the door out. To take the door out, just move it up to this position, and then simply just pull up and out. Easy as that. On most ovens, this is how they come out. So very easy, but if you get unlucky, there are ovens out there that are a lot more complicated than this. But fortunately for most of you, the hinges are going to be similar to mine, so easy to take apart. And this is method number 3, which I think is the best method, where the whole entire door just comes apart. Once again, pay attention how it's coming apart, because you will have to put it back together, and sometimes that's a lot more difficult than taking it apart. So I like to start from the bottom. Here's those tabs that I was talking about. Remember how they were getting bent? If I was to just completely let this go, these tabs, they could just get bent out. And then your door might have a hard time clamping back together. And one more thing to look out for with method number 2 that I forgot to mention. If you accidentally let go of the door when it's in the bottom position, it will slam back inside, and that could potentially shatter your glass. And that is a bad day for everyone. So be careful with that. Okay. So that's the bottom portion. If you're wondering what these screws are from, those are from the door hinge, and we're not going to take those off for now. Okay. There you go. So here's our front piece. I'll just set it aside. And then you flip this one over, put it here. So to get to the inside of this center glass, I have to take this metal panel out. And it looks like the hinges are attached to it. So yes, I will have to take the hinges out and this whole piece out by taking all these screws out in order to get to the centerpiece in there. And I should probably point out that this is supposed to be sealed up. So most likely, if your glass is really dirty, it's not going to be on the inside there. There might be a little bit, but most of it is going to be either on the first glass or the third glass. But if you already cleaned those and this is still dirty, then here you go. This is how you take it apart. So let's take the hinges out first. By the way, it usually does matter which one is right and which one is left. So do keep that in mind when you're taking them apart, so you put them back in the same way. Okay. And this is one of the reasons why I have an extension on my drill all the time, because I use it as a hex bit for screws like this. These extensions work very well for these hex head screws. Another thing I like to do is to leave the screws approximately in the same place where I took them out from. So these would go here, because, you know, there's other holes here and you might forget where you took them out. Alrighty, we're finally at the prize. Here goes. You always wanted to know what the inside of an oven door looked like, right? Here it is. Now you finally know. It's just full of a bunch of insulation. So here is the pesky inner glass that is so hard to get to. Voila. So this one is, just like I assumed, barely dirty. In fact, we're probably better off just not even touching it. We might dust it. That's about it. So I'll set this aside carefully. Don't want to break this little guy. And right here, we actually do see just a little bit of streaking going on. I think most of it is on that side, but there is some of it here. So we'll go ahead and wipe this down and just clean all the glass panels now that we have everything apart, and then put it all back together. Now it's cleaning time. If you have oven cleaner, great. If you have Mr. Clean, great. If you have Windex, great. If you don't have anything like that, well, then just use anything you have to try to get that glass cleaned. In our family, we try to avoid toxic stuff, so my wife uses stuff like this. It's called Branch Basics, and it just has no harmful chemicals in it. Because, for example, if you use the oven cleaner on the inside of your oven, next time you go to cook something, all the residual leftovers of the oven cleaner, they pretty much get absorbed into the food that you're cooking. And that just doesn't seem like it's healthy. So we like to use natural alternatives, and if your oven glass is really caked with a lot of grease, it's all foggy, one really good method is to use baking soda and white vinegar. I'm not actually going to show an example of this because mine is not caked. But basically you would just dump in some baking soda, like half of a small bowl, and then pour in some white vinegar just to make a paste. You don't want it to be liquidy, you just want it to be a paste. After you got your paste, you spread it out on your glass and you let it sit there for like an hour. If it's really nasty, then just leave it there overnight. And then come back, spray a little bit more white vinegar on it, and just start scrubbing. Most of it should come off pretty easy. There's gonna be some specks left over. Those you can finish off with a razor or a paint scraper. You could also try using a magic eraser. Those work very well too. And those were the most important parts. I'm not gonna bore you with showing you how we're gonna clean this. Basically, I'm gonna spray this on, let it sit there and soak for about 5 minutes. I'll wipe it all down and do the same with all the other glass panes. And then I'll probably fast forward, edit how I'm putting all this back together. Exactly the same way I took it apart is how I'm gonna put it back together. All right, cleanup and reassembly complete. I don't know how good of a job I did, but I did do it. Let's go ahead and put our door back in, and you're gonna put it back in the same way you took it out. So I'm resting it on my knee, this middle portion of it, to kind of line it up. And you put those hinges on the bar, right there. If you look inside there, there's like a bar. The hook is supposed to go over that. There's 2 of them. I usually like to just do it one side at a time. We'll start with the right side. You can kind of feel that it got in there. And then do the other side. Once you feel like you got them in there, you lower the door. If those hinges pop out, then you know for sure you did something wrong. Lastly, don't forget to lock the hinges in. And you are done. Oh wait, I forgot the most important thing, and that is to hide the robot vacuum before my son wakes up from his nap. And I should probably actually show you this. Sometimes it's a struggle. So basically you're trying to get this lock, the locking tab here, over this hump over here. Whatever it's called, slider. So you angle it the same way you took it out. And this thing is supposed to go in between this and this locking tab right here. Once you got it over, you can lower it. And it should slide nice and easy. If it's not sliding nice and easy, if it's really stiff, then you probably did something wrong. Take it out and try again. Well guys, and those were the 3 methods of how to get to the inside of your oven glass to get it nice and cleaned. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to mash that like button if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Black coffee, no sugar, no milk. If you're still here and not in the comment section below, if you do any kind of investing, you know that recently we had a pretty nice crash. So there's these 2 rednecks sitting in their tractor on their farm watching the sunset, and one of them tells the other, "Hey Bob, so on the radio, the news, and social media, I keep hearing about the stock markets. Do you know what it is? I still have no idea what it is." And the second redneck says, let's see, how should I explain this to you? Let's say you go and buy yourself some eggs. You bring them home, they hatch into chicks, they grow up into chickens, and they lay more eggs, and those hatch into more chicks, and those grow up into more chickens, and the cycle keeps repeating itself, and eventually you have a whole farm full of chickens. You're rich. But then, a giant flood ravages your land, and it takes all those chickens upstream. And you're sitting there and you're thinking, ducks. I should have gotten ducks. And that, Joe, is what the stock market is like.